Welcome to the second part of this coding along, where we are building an interactive story path exercise so students can learn like how to handle certain situations, or you can use YouTube videos to have like what is the correct next step in this process going to do. Let them argument over it and then immediately see feedback for it. This was actually an exercise that was asked for me for psychology lessons for a different campus here at the Erasmus Hogeschool Brussels. So I'm just molding it into an exercise here for Frontend, which is the course where I am giving these coding alongs. Now, before we continue, you need some data. Now, for our students, you can find the data in the canvas itself. So it's the JSON data that holds some, actual logical dummy data instead of item 1, item 2, item 3, and instead of my videos, for example. Well, I've changed them a bit so they are my videos. But again, get that JSON data in your application, and then we are good to go. For the people who are watching and following along who do not attend our school, you can find the Git repo with that path data and the completed example in the comments section of this video, or in the description of this video. So again, if you like what you see, maybe I should say it for once: like, share, and subscribe, of course, if I'm helping you somehow learning React. Now, that path data.json, we're going to be placing it in a folder called data in our source. Voila. And to just analyze again what kind of data we are working with, always good to start with this. So for now, what do we have? We have a title and description. Perfect. It's going to be for up top here. We're going to use the goals. That's going to be for this block. We have the theory. It's for this block. And then we have the exercise itself. More on that later. But again, exercises, as you can see, it's only one for now. We can duplicate this to have multiple later on. And then you have that multiple exercises which you can train your students on. Perfect. Now, before we go into that, we need to be able to use this. Where are we going to use this? For now, let's use this at the top of our location, which means our info page. Why? Because in our info page, there are already things that we are that we need to make dynamic. For example, the title, the description, the info section needs to be loaded with the correct data, etc., etc. So to get that file here, you can do fetch request, etc. If you have data from a different place, which we will be showing you in a later part of this demo. But for now, we're just going to be importing this data because we have it already. This is also a very easy way to make your application very flexible. Again, loading up a new JSON file with new data, which has the same structure, immediately makes your page useful for something else. So we're going to be importing it. Import, let's say, data from, as you can see, it already mentions it. Is it data? But not data.json. The Copilot is not always correct. Data.json. So components, let me check. Components. Yep. So that data is not used. How are we going to be using that? Well, we're going to be using something called a state hook. Now, a state hook is like memory for your component, because each time you use dynamic values, you lose the things in your component. It's going to be re-rendering, returning this JSON. But we want to have some memory of things to be maintained during the application. That's why we use state. Again, more info on the state documentation in React. We will be using it here. So again, before we start using it, we need to be importing it. Use state. And now that we have the use state hook, we always, as you can see, it already suggests something for me. I'm going to change one small thing. That is the, let's call it info, because it's all our info. All right. So hooks have some rules. For example, we have the variable name, which will contain our data. So in this case, if we have info that is loaded in here with the useState hook, it's going to be contained in here. If we want to adjust this state, we are only allowed to use the setInfo function. So that's a function that is used to change the info. So if I would use setInfo and then add some data to it, then this variable will be set with that data. Then the last part, of course, is the hook, and they always need to be used at the top level of the function. So the function starts here at 8, and of course, the first thing we do is use the hook. You cannot add hooks after the return, for example, or in between here. That's not allowed. So the useState means, you know what, we're going to set this as a state, and we can pass along a default value. Our default value is our import statement here. Okay, so we've set it up. Now we can check in here in our application if it is located correctly. Let's see if I have the components in here. So again, components, let me open it up a bit. Components is a result of the DevTools for React. So if you have not installed it, I think I mentioned in the Lego app, but again, install the DevTools for your browser. I'm using Edge for now. You can use Firefox, Chrome, whatever else is on there. So info section is our info page is our state. Let me check if I have state. Let me refresh it. The hooks here. As you can see, we have a hook. If I click on this, it gives me the name at the moment. So as you can see, it's loaded in everything. So I have an object, which is our JSON file that has a title, description, has goals, has theory, and has exercises. Perfect. Now we're just loading it in. We're going to be changing it later on in the application by adding the email and the full name, for example. But we are going to using that data to make this dynamic. So again, we can close this, and now we could just use info.title, info.description, and so forth. Description, and this will automatically give me my data. Okay, so I'm gonna suggest to you to pause the video here and try to make the rest of it dynamic. At least the info section. Let's start with the info section, passing along data to the info section. I'll give you some time. Look at how the data is structured, as you can see here, and maybe adjust the info section accordingly. That's all the tips I'm going to give you for now, right? Good luck with the info page and the info section. And once you're done, click resume, and I'll show you how it's done. All right, you've either listened to an awkward silence, or we can continue with the solution. So info section, at the moment, I'm passing along title, description, list. That's a lot to manage. So I honestly would just prefer to pass along one object and then destruct everything that I need from it. So for example, theory and goals both have description and list. So description and list is fine by me. Again, the title is important. We're going to hard code that in because I want this to be a goal. So the title is going to be goals, but then the description and the list is coming from the info. Now, we can do it multiple ways. We can pass along the whole object. We can pass along the goals object by doing this, for example. Let me just think about it. Let's call it data, because we need something generic, because it can be used for multiple things. And we can do info.goals. That will pass along this whole block in here, which will have description and list. And then in our info section, we can, instead of doing this, we can get the data. But then we always have to do data dot description, etc. That's a bit much. I rather have it description, and I rather have list. I think that's what we had. So you can destruct it here as well. So if I'm not mistaken, we can do it like this. info.gold, goals. And what we have here is description and list. Whoops, description is not defined. Do I have the same pronunciation? Yeah. All right, let me check what is going wrong. Try to figure it out. You can use destructuring for this. Okay, it took longer than I admit to find the issue, to realize that there is no issue. I just did not refresh my page. Again, the Create React app can be a bit finicky sometimes, so try to refresh is it as much as possible. So for now, again, in the info section, I passed along the title and I passed along every property with its value from the goals section, again, from our data. So this means description and list with these. As you can see, goal 1 is be awesome. Goal 2 is be amazing. And goal 3 is learn something. All 3 goals will be achieved by the end of this coding along. And as you can see, these are located here. So that means it is loaded in. It's not hard-coded, I promise. But the thing is, if you pass along these properties here, you need to destruct it here as well. So I know that I'm going to get title, description, and list here. So that means that for the next one, I can do it again manually, or I can switch it. Let me keep the theory title. I can do it manually, or I can do it the same way. As you can see, theory, again, be awesome, be amazing, learn something. That's a theory. I hope you all learned something. This is how we get that data in there. Now for the exercise, it's a bit different. Now for the exercise, we're going to add just the first one. So we're going to add, so exercise, if you remember, is an array. That array will be, will have one object in it. So we're just going to, for now, we're going to be using the first data of it. So data, we're going to call EX for exercise, and we're going to pass it along in here. This has so much different properties that it's not really recommended to destructure here, because otherwise on the other side you will have to get all those values separately as well. We don't want that. So info.exercises, and we're going to do it a bit dirty, and then we're going to get the first element. Property of element undefined, done. So again, we have the first exercise. If we go into the exercise class here, we are destructing EX. So that means that if I look to my path data, I'm just going to double it for now. Give me a second. As you can see, now I see all the properties here. So we have the title, ex.title, maybe with brackets in between. I see something appearing on the right side, so I think we're on a good track. Description. As you can see, scenario is not capitalized, which bothers me. And we can refresh. Done. So as you can see, by now, we have loaded in the exercise, done the title, done the description. All right, so again, pause again, analyze the data you have here, try to map all the different data to the path data.json, and I'll see you back in a second. All right, let's finish this up. And the things we need to change are the video IDs and the titles. So again, we have the videos here. So the video ID here would be, if I'm not mistaken, ex.video, start video ID. Start video ID. That's the first one. As you can see, it loads up perfectly. And I'm going to do it for choice A and B. Video ID choice A and choice B. And of course we have texts that we have. So choice A, you know what? Let's add some details to it. Oops. Which is going to be ex dot, what's it called here? Title choice B and title choice A. All right, let's refresh. As you can see now, we have, again, the correct videos. I've adjusted, if you loaded this from the students part, those are funny videos in there. You can change it by the videos, whatever you like. Just take the ID of any YouTube video. As you can see, the texts are being updated, and we have a fully dynamic thing, application at the moment. So that's the first thing that we have. Now, the next part, we have loaded in data. We're going to stop the video here. The next video is going to be handling events. So we learn how to work with state, but of course, adjusting the state requires an event to type something, to click something, to do something. And to learn how to do that, we will check that in the next video, where we will be updating and maintaining the data of all the input fields. So the name, the email, the questions, the radio buttons, and the submit button to save the data. All right, see you all in the next video.